there is a separation between truth and fiction. So when we look at scripture, you'll notice in a few places, not only in the book of Peter, but also in the book of Acts, which we're going to read out of, it talks about God who appoints his son, who is going to judge the living and the dead, and we have to take this also in a literal sense, but also we have to take it in a figurative sense. There are people that are in the legal right now that are actually operating as dead entities. They don't realize that they're living in a dead body corporate. So they're living in what is considered to be debt, which is sin, which would eventually be symbolic of execution. It's just a matter of the time that it'll happen. But in the moment, they're actually operating as if they are already in the dead. Jesus even spoke to someone who was trying to take care of temporal secular matters, and said that he couldn't follow Christ at the beginning. So he said that he had many little affairs to take care of, legal affairs. And Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. So we know he was talking about a world that was around him that lived in legal fiction and the worries of the Gentile realm that surrounded everybody under the Roman Empire. So he was speaking about them being dead spiritually, but they were actually symbolically dead already just because of the direction that they were running their lives. So when we go to Acts chapter 10, verse 42, it even states, it says, and he ordered us to preach to the people and solemnly to testify that this is the one, speaking of Jesus, who has been appointed by God as judge of the living and the dead. So in the system that we are surrounded with in this legal world that runs under the Roman civil system, they have truth mixed in there. It's induced to come into their dead body because their dead body won't move without you breathing life into it. So truth is actually life, of course, because we know that comes from God. That's why your God-given name has so much power in it. Your God-given Christian name represents life and grace and a gift, whereas the fiction that runs under the Roman civil system is a dead body corporate. It has no life. You can see down here, we just put legal surname, which is under the fiction, which is the body corporate. So we want to be clear that those surnames are body corporates. Do not, you're combining yourself in there is really kind of a ridiculous thing, but it becomes merged and then it's no longer seen as living anymore. It's just a body corporate when it joins. So that's the merger, that's the confusion. But sin equals debt, which equals guilt, which we know leads to execution, even in judgment. So if you go into the physician's handbook on birth and death registration, and we know that lawyers do a lot of legal executions. When you go to their offices, it's called a legal execution. And under section, basically on causes of death, section 198, one of the causes of death is legal executions. So this is a legal execution because it appears that you were adjudged as you were going to sin, and you were going to basically touch from the forbidden fruit, you were going to eat from a lie, and therefore this is what's issued out, which is like a judgment of something that's dead. So this is just a dead body, a miscarriage of justice of a child, and a misconception. So very simply, there's nothing that they are not giving you an answer on. It depends on where your eyes are to see and your ears to hear. But certainly the scripture is giving you the truth, and they're actually giving you enough figurative evidence just by how they word things in the legal system and how they issue things in the legal system.